Well, man, it's great to have you on our podcast. We've been following you for a long time, with all the great shows that you were hosting and producing with Animal Planet, stuff, Shark Week, Jackass for sure. I think that's probably what put you in the map, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Jackass and Wildboyz
right.
put me in the map more than Discovery or, a fact such a fact, more than Animal Planet or Outdoor Channel. Outdoor Channel would have been my favorite. This is more what I'm about. But, it was a job. Whether how many people saw it, it's nothing like the crowd that MTV would get.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the most compelling things with what Jackass was doing, you guys were denying death like almost on a daily basis, and you were the one who knew how to work with animals. And here you have you're chumming up sharks, and Steve-O's jumping in the ocean with a hook through his face, right? I mean, that's kind of appealing, for television to see these guys doing really stupid stuff.
Yeah, the idea is to do, 10% educational, 90% misinformation, and stupid ideas. Like they were gonna do a hook in the mouth, and I told Jeff, how about if we get a shark feeding frenzy? Because when people are catching fish, sharks come and eat the fish off their line. That's a very common thing that happens.
Sure.
So to make it authentic, he'll be a fish that's being caught. So Chris is reeling him in would have been reeling him with a hook.
Yeah.
And then sharks will be all around him trying to eat the fish, which is Steve-O.
And he had a bunch of barracuda hanging around his waist. And I remember.
What I did is I did several things. I had one with the barracudas because I did a lot of shark stuff with Steve-O. But that time where the Mako almost got him, what happened was we were there all day. It was, I didn't want to go out. It was, I remember Tremaine said something, I don't believe in God, but you do. So you pray to God that we have a good, Jeff, let's not go out there. It's 5-6 foot seas out there in the Gulf. It's horrible. And sure enough, we went out there. Everybody was throwing up. It was a horrible day. I was in the water for hours trying to lure in sharks. One of the guys went down and speared like 7 amberjack underneath an oil rig. So we took that for bait, and I was working. That day I had wahoos eating out of my hand. I had yellowfin tuna eating out of my hand. I had bonita eating out of my hand. That's how fired up. And then I had scallop hammerheads coming in. So once I hand fed a scallop hammerhead, which I did on the show, and then I had a hammerhead swim around Steve-O. Okay, we got the shot. He's got the hook in his mouth. He's screaming, pull him in, done deal. Then at the last minute, I see all the bonitas start acting funny. They turn into a big ball. All the bonitas school. Okay, something bad is out here. Look at the way the fish are acting. Sure enough, here comes a Mako, about a 200-pounder. And the guys, hey, let's get a little bit of action. We were done with Steve and everything, so I grabbed the bonita and went like this. And the Mako comes up to me. He looks at me, and he turns around, and he takes off. And all of a sudden, I look, and I see Steve-O. They had put him back in the water. He had his head out of the water. And I could see his legs kicking like this, no fins or anything. So the Mako, of course, he sees everybody looking at him. He's going to attack the guy who's got the head out of the water because he's the one that's most vulnerable, right, most defenseless. And I stuck my head out of the water. Steve-O, look out! I yelled as loud as I could. And when he panicked, he's trying to get back to the boat. He's far away from me. I can't do anything to save him. So
and you probably thought he was going to get bit.
Oh, yeah. So he accidentally, when he's trying to swim, kicked the shark. And the shark took off.
I saw that.
If you slap a shark before he bites you, chances are you're going to avoid the bite. He'll leave because he thinks you're going to hurt him. So the idea is to show aggression to a shark before he bites you. Once he bit you, he already bit you. You're done. So the idea is...
get him before he bites you.
Slap him before he bites you. Anything that will startle him or spook him. Because he's not competing. He's trying to eat without getting eaten, without getting injured.
Right.
To him, it's a survival thing.
Right.
Was there one stunt where it just went over the top and you were like, we're not doing this. This can't happen.
Yes.
That was probably one of them that got out of control.
Well, everything went well until they put him back in. But by the grace of God, he did not get bit.
Right.
It was out of my hands.
Just by chance, he kicked that.
If he would have got bit, I would have took the blame. Because it was my idea to put him in the water with the sharks, the whole 9 yards. Another time, the first day I did a thing with a Jackass, we pulled up with an Eastern Diamondback rattlesnake. And I said, and I walk up the rattlesnake and I go like this with my hands, and I said, okay, see, they put my hands like that. And he goes, the rattlesnakes have sensors here that pick up heat. And then they, that's one of the things they have. They have their eyesight, their they pick up the heat that's coming off of you. So I'm explaining that to the Jackass guys. I have no idea what the show is really about. So Knoxville goes like this, and he goes like at the rattlesnake, and I pull his hands away. And then he tells me, okay, I'm going to put my hand in there. I'm going to let the rattlesnake bite me, and then you guys take me to the hospital. He was going to get bit by a diamondback on purpose. And I go, no. Then they got upset with me because I wouldn't let him take a bite. I said that even if you go to the hospital, you may lose your arm or die. And the anti-venom is not a guarantee. He thought it was like, Star Trek here. Yeah, I'm fine. Right. I'm going out to the bar tonight. No, you get bit by a rattlesnake. I don't care how much anti-venom they give you. You could lose a limb. You're done.
See, here's the problem. You're working with somebody for the shock value.
Yeah.
That was Jackass in its entirety, really.
It's shock value, yes.
A lot of stupid stuff that they got away with, and you were the animal controller trying to guide them, but sometimes people don't want to listen to the experts.
No.
And that's when you get in trouble.
Yeah, my idea was if they got bit by something, it was on purpose. The idea is to injure them, but not kill them. The idea is to do something really stupid and dangerous, but not die. So you got to have that balance. Okay, we're going to take a high-risk thing. It's going to look really stupid and unprofessional, but it's going to come out great.
Yeah. That's not very smart.
No. Well, nothing they did was
were they more courageous than smart? I mean, were they just like they didn't?
They had no boundaries.
Who was the most fearless?
Probably Knoxville. As far as pain and doing dangerous, Knoxville, they all were very good, but Knoxville had a higher tolerance to, okay, I'm going to get injured severely and I'm going to be okay with it. Some of the stuff that with animals, Chris Pontius was into the wildlife more. Steve-O, everything. He did danger. He did the grossest things you could ever, like eating somebody's plate full of vomit or something like that, I seen him do, Dave England ate horse manure, right in front of me. And they did some really gross things.
Right.
But not very incorrect things. And also, they did just very stupid. Steve-O did very dangerous stuff too. Mm-hmm. Extremely dangerous. Steve-O was probably out of all them the one I hung out with the most. I spent a lot of time hanging out, just partying with him, hanging out with him. I did touring with him. I'd spent a lot of time with Steve-O.
What was it about Steve-O that you liked so much?
If we just hung out.
He was normal. He was kind of normal.
No, there's nothing normal about Steve-O. Nothing.
So there must be nothing normal about you, obviously, too.
I was more normal than Steve-O was. No,
it's like when you're getting attacked by a bear and you have somebody else. All you have to do is outrun that guy. When you do the comparison with Steve-O.
I did a lot. It's my idea to put chicken on Steve-O when the alligators are jumping up to get him. See, that's another thing. I come in. He's going to do a tightrope over alligators. I said, no, put the tightrope low. And I told the guys, don't feed the alligators for a long time. And when he came in there, I said, tie chicken onto him. And so then they tied a chicken on him, and Steve-O was hanging off a tightrope, and the alligators are all jumping at him. And I said, don't look at the alligators. Let him do the thing. And finally, an alligator jumped up and grabbed the chicken and pulled it off him. They were tied to his butt. The chickens were.
Tied to his butt.
Yeah, he was on a G-string, crawling, doing a stunt. But I said he was going to go so high. If you fall off of there, you're going to break your legs on the concrete. Never mind the alligators. Put it lower, and then we'll do it. And do it like it was 23 alligators and one crocodile in the pit.
Well, let's go back, Manny, to your upbringing in Cuba, right? Tell me about what your life was like there. What did your parents do, and how did you guys get to the States?
My life in Cuba was a little different. My dad was an Olympic athlete. He had rowed for the Cuban Olympic team. I think he won a bronze medal or something like that. And my mother came from a very high-end family from Cuba. Her grandfather was a very famous guy in Cuba. He was Secretary of State. He owned a ranch in the Organ Mountains in Pinar del Rio. The entire mountain range was his ranch, 54,000 acres or something like that. And I used to go there when I was a kid, play out there and hang out. They had a beach house. I used to go to the beach. My dad taught me how to swim around the age of 5. I was afraid. I didn't know how to swim. That's the first time I put on a mask, looked underwater to see little fishes. I was catching lizards, frogs, anything I could catch when I was a little kid. And one of the things that I did is they had these big land crabs in Cuba. So when I was a little kid at the age of 4, I would look into the crab holes and I'd reach in there and grab the land crabs by the claw. So that's something most 4-year-olds weren't doing. In school, I was terrible, but my mind was into that. So my dad would come and grab me by my legs and we pull the crab out of the hole.
So you kind of crawl in there with your
arm.
upper body or your arm.
My arm, yeah, I couldn't fit in there. I couldn't fit my arm probably in there right now, but back then I was little. I'd reach in there, and the crab would drag me all the way to here. And they asked me, "Aren't you afraid he's going to get you with the other claw?" And he goes, "He can't reach when he's in the hole. If I got him by the elbow, he can't bite me."
Interesting.
So at the age of 4, I knew that.
So you were born kind of fearless?
In that sense, yes. And when it comes to sticking my hand to grab a land crab, I was more like, but I'm not immune to fear. I did that. Later on at an early age, the whole Cuba thing happened, communism and all that. My dad ended up being trained by the CIA also to go into Cuba. And he went in the infiltration team with a head guy. And my mother was there with him too. They all got caught. All the women were spared, but my dad was executed. And everybody, all the men, all 6 guys were executed. And the women were later on released with Bay of Pigs people. I think the U.S. government paid money to get them out. My uncle went to Bay of Pigs. My other uncle, he got shot in both legs. My other uncle ended up in prison 15 years in Cuba.
Wow.
For going to a meeting. And my mother's brother went to prison also.
But
Political prisoners.
He was caught for doing what?
Oh, CIA to overthrow Castro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so the Castro team caught him.
The Castro team caught him. Yes. Yeah, the Bay of Pigs was, it was a failed, you got to read the whole history behind it. As a matter of fact, it's all coming out right now on this investigations. Who called up the airstrikes, and the guys had no air cover. Castro was popular at the time. The government knew he was going to be a problem. Now he's very unpopular. But back then he just got into power. He was still real popular. A lot of people thought he was great. The CIA trained a bunch of guys who already knew what was up to go over there and try to overthrow him. And at the last minute, I think they said Johnson called off the professional, I believe it was a team of hired pilots, the one Americans. See, there weren't American citizens in there. The U.S. military Navy were all around Cuba at the time. They wanted to come in. But Kennedy, I think he said he didn't want to send the U.S. Air Force, but I think Johnson called off the Panamanian pilots who were supposed to give these guys air cover. So it was a fumble.
Wow.
How old were you when your dad passed?
5. And time was so I remember the nanny's taking care of us, and it's where's mom and dad? Mom was in jail, and dad was dead. And then when she got out, she eventually got us out of the country.
And she lost all of her wealth.
Yeah, they took everything.
They take everything.
They stripped of your property. Or we went to the ranch one time, and they had been closed. We couldn't go to our own ranch. I mean, he bought that ranch. It was his. You know what I mean? He didn't steal it from anybody.
But that's a common story with all Cubans that got out of there when Cuba was.
Anytime communism take over, you can't have private property. You can't own anything. Even your house can be taken from you. Your money is stripped from you. Your wealth, anything you accumulated, whatever it is, the government takes everything. They don't redistribute stuff. They steal everything.
Right.
That's what, they just keep everything. I mean, Castro had a huge Swiss bank account. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just
do you remember how you got to Miami?
We didn't escape on a boat. We were allowed to leave. We were very young. If you're military age, you couldn't leave. I was very young, so we were allowed to leave in an airplane at the early days. So we got to Miami, and that's it. And I remember coming to Miami, all our families living in one house, and they told us there are poisonous snakes in the United States. Don't pick up the snakes over here. Oh yeah. So that was it. And
the rest is history, as they say, right?
Yeah. By the time I was in high school, I was picking up venomous snakes, jumping on large alligators. I started hand catching alligators by hand. Instead of hunting alligators with a gun or something like that, I would catch an alligator by hand.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I just want to back up a little bit. So you were in a home with your mom and your 3 sisters in Miami.
Yes.
What was your mom doing for work at the time?
My mom would get any job she could. They had no money. She had a nervous breakdown. I mean, it was really tough. She went back to school and she became a psychology teacher. She taught psychology at Miami-Dade eventually. And she got a student loan and went to school.
Wow.
That's what she did. And the same house I was in there with my uncles, my cousins were there, his whole entire family. It was full of kids, full of people. It's like, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 people there.
So all the extended family members escaped.
Yeah, they all escaped us. For my Uncle Reno was still locked up. My dad's brother, he was locked up. We had to wait for like 15, 17 years before he finally got out of Cuba.
Wow.
Before we ever saw him. And I remember he was married to my mother's sister. So 2 brothers married 2 sisters. And
interesting.
Both brothers went to the Olympics for Cuba.
Wow.
There's pictures of them when they all, and my father's sister married another guy that was in the Olympic team too, which is Godoy.
Mm-hmm.
Last name Godoy, Joaquin Godoy, my cousin. So,
did you ever have any aspirations of being some sort of an athlete? Rowing, like with what they were doing?
I'm not into sports. The only sport that I really, I was basically forced to play football and junior high and get in the wrestling team and all that, but I didn't care for it. Weightlifting. I like to lift weight. And in high school, in the state of Florida, I became state champion in high school in weightlifting.
Wow.
I got first place in the 198-pound class in high school.
But so you were just, were you like, did you like the muscles that you were building, or you were looking at lifting the biggest weight for records and stuff?
It was strength, Olympic lifting. So it's more about, how much could I lift?
So did you ever think about going to the Olympics as a weightlifter?
No, but I never did steroids. And by the time I was steroids were starting to get out. By the time I got out of high school, steroids were, people lifting outrageous amount of weight because everybody's taking steroids. I mean, when I was there, in high school, I could standing press. That's what we did, 225. They didn't do the snatch because the kids couldn't do it. So we did bench press instead. On competition, I did like 290. Off competition, I did 305. And clean jerk, I did 265.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me the state championship in 198. That was a lot of weight back then. I like the Olympic style lifting more than I do the powerlifting.
Right.
And during this time, were you fascinated with the outdoors on the weekends? Would you go to the Everglades?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I got bit by a rattlesnake when I was in high school. That is a lot of damage to the hand. And the coaches like, hey, no more rattlesnakes until after the state meet. They said, don't get injured before we do the state championship. They were counting on me to win.
Did you have any buddies that were doing that said, hey, let's go into the Everglades and do these things? Or did you just on your own think, I want to go mess with rattlesnakes? They
had other people doing it, but I was the other guys that I knew weren't grabbing them by hand and doing the kind of stuff I was doing.
Who taught you how to do that stuff?
The good Lord. I give credit to Jesus Christ of everything I ever did. 100%. I do that because if you not humble, you'll end up.
Right. But there has to be a technique.
There is.
And a timing to work with animals and snakes and the things that you've done. And the learning curve is a dangerous corner
to
life
go
or
around.
death.
It is. If I see you on TV doing something and with an animal, I saw you do it, I already picked it up. I already know exactly how you did it and how to do it. But a lot of stuff, most of the stuff I did, I had to learn on my own by like how to catch an alligator by hand. I've only seen like Tarzan movies. So did
Tarzan inspire you in a way?
Yeah, he did, but Tarzan wasn't real. So I would do something like go out at night and there'd be an alligator in the water in the edge of a lake, and I'd have somebody hold a light on it, and I'd say, okay, now when I come running, and the alligator and I would dive in the water, the alligator would go under, I would break through the water and tackle the alligator underwater, and I'd be holding on to, I don't even know what part of the alligator, trying to feel his way through, and I come up out of the water, his mouth would be like this.
What made you think like you could do this stuff? Manny, this is insane.
What I did later on, I had better ways of catching alligators, but when I was starting out, it was all diving and tackling. Sometimes nobody there, all by myself, no camera, no nothing.
Why? I don't.
So you just
I wanted to do it. I was just obsessed with the idea of catching a large wild alligator by hand. I'd sit in school like that, and I'd be bad grades. I didn't care about school or anything. I would just think about working out and going catching alligators. And
Was
that's it.
alligator, was that your favorite animal?
For a while, it was like my favorite thing.
Right.
Was catching alligators. Then, and also they dreamed about catching sharks by hand, which I did later on. Mm-hmm. So I would fantasize about these things and go try it.
Right. Did Steve Irwin, the great animal guy from Australia, did you watch his work on TV also?
I did see his work.
What did you think of him?
He was okay. I always thought, I don't want to brag, I was way ahead of him, way better. Matter of fact, Animal Planet bought our show so it wouldn't compete with theirs. But, they would have like a dozen Aussies on a crocodile's back. And then later on, I was teaching a girl in a bikini how to levitate an alligator with one hand like this all the way to the surface. So
Had anybody done that before you?
no, I did it. I was the first guy to levitate an alligator underwater.
But
The guys that are doing it, the ones that I taught.
Yeah, but I don't understand how you connected the dots thinking, I'm going to lift this alligator by the lower jaw, and he's going to go to sleep in my hand. I mean, that...
It started hand catching alligators, more and more hand catching, and then I spent so much time in the water with them that I would touch one and touch here, and then later on, one day it just occurred. That's why I said the good Lord gave it to me. Some people, if you're like super smart, He gave you smarts. God gave you that, even if you don't believe Him. If you're a good athlete, He gave you that. If you're the governor or the president, He put you there for whatever reason. If you're the king, He put you there. He can put you there and take you off. This is what I always believed. And yeah, I'm not a business person. I'm not this or anything, but this is what He gave me, and this is what has helped me throughout my life.
So you believe your gift is communicating and interacting with these wild species?
Yes. That's what I asked for when I was a kid, and that's what
Did you pray for that?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
When did you become a Christian?
I've been a Christian for a long time, but I wasn't a good example of a Christian. Hanging out, maybe too many women, things like that is very uncalled for. A lot of, hanging out with the Jackass guys it's not a Christian lifestyle. So, yeah. So that's why I said, Jeff is a friend. The guys are friends of mine. I said, Jeff, I don't want to offend you, but I'm not going to do the last movie. It's, because I don't want to tell them like, hey, I don't want to do, you guys going to make fun of God in a skit. I don't want to have, I don't want, so you guys do what you're going to do. I'm not going to be in there because I had that problem before. Look, I'm going to have to quit. I'm not going to do this stunt. I had that problem before, and I said, and they said, no, we'll drop it. Stay with us, and they did. It was I was going to take off. Mark was going to take off, and David Weathers, the Cobra Kid, was also going to quit that day too. The guy that handles the cobras, and he's another animal handler. We brought him in there too. Also, he supplies a lot of animals for them.
So you weren't grabbing these alligators and doing this stuff for anybody else. You weren't filming it. You were doing it solely for you.
I did it solely for me, for the sake of doing it. Then I remember like a story. One time I went out with one of the football players from high school, and we came up onto a lake, and there was like a jetty going out to the lake. There's an alligator on the end of the jetty, and I walked out there, and the alligator turned around and started hissing. He didn't want to jump in. He was ready to fight me. And I was there, and then the alligator finally turned around and dove, and it was hyacinths. The water was about chest deep, and it was covered in those floating hyacinths everywhere. And the alligator dove at high speed through the hyacinths, and I just instantly dove right through the hyacinths. And, no mask or anything, just plain, and broke through the hyacinths and ran into the alligator underwater. It was like impact like this. And I grabbed on, and next thing you know, I'm spinning with the alligator and everything and trying to grab his legs, keep him from spinning on me. And I turned around, and next thing you know, I had a grip on the alligator, and I leaned up against the bank. It was a steep bank like that. And I had the alligator there, and I had his front legs, and his mouth is open. He's trying to bite me, turn like this, and I'm keeping his legs from biting me. It was a good-sized alligator. And I'm turning him like this, about 8 foot. And then I finally pushed down on his nose, got his mouth shut. And I remember I told the kid Joe Yeaman, the football player, says, can you grab his jaws, hold his jaws, do not let go. Hold those jaws, hold them right here. And I'm going to grab his back legs, I'm going to pull him up on the bank. And we dragged him up onto
insane.
Shore. And then we got him, okay, we got him. There's no camera, nothing. Everybody ready, turn around, I'll let the alligator go.
Were you ever afraid of the alligator biting you once you let him go?
Yeah. When I was going to jump sometimes, I remember getting a little nervous before I did that jump. And then another time, a group of kids is that, man, I hear you catch alligators. My little brothers came over from Puerto Rico. It was a guy I was already in college. I did terrible in college. I got 19 credits in 2 years. And it's all like lousy credits. So we're there, and he brought his little brothers, and there's about a 9-foot alligator. Went out to the lake and dove, caught the alligator. And I remember asking him to get in, take your belt off, your pants, and put it around his mouth. We're going to drag him up on the shores so we can, after I subdued the gator in the water, so the kids could check him out, his little brothers and everything. We let him go. Then people started pulling up in their cars and watching. I remember catching alligators at night, in the daytime and everything. And then I ended up catching alligators when I was frog gigging. I would see gators hide underwater and grab them. So I can't count the amount of alligators I hand caught over the years. Then years later, when I was working with Mark, I told him stories, and he goes, let's go to the Everglades and just film some of this stuff.
So Mark was the producer of the Jackass?
No, it was a spearfishing partner that had a camera. So we got into it, we started filming the alligators in the swamps, and I was hand catching alligators. And that's when the first time I learned how to levitate an alligator, I discovered that. He caught it on video.
Was that just by accident that you did this? And
Yeah,
levitated him?
I wasn't planning on doing that.
Yeah, okay.
It just, I went like this, and I reacted on it, like kind of like the first time I caught a mako shark by hand. It just occurred to me at the moment to do it, to grab on.
Right.
I see an opportunity, and all of a sudden the brain capitalizes on it. And
so after that, you started doing like this photograph here, lifting these alligators by the other. What is it about an alligator? Do they just go passive when you get a hold of them here?
No, they don't see you. You lift and you try to get under him, and if you take his head straight up, his legs will do this. He goes into tonic immobility. I've taken an alligator that's like over 13 feet, in the wild. Always, my gator's always in the wild, and I lifted him up and put him in tonic immobility. Took him 25 feet to the surface from a deep canal, and when he hit the surface, he exploded. But this is a 1,000-pound alligator.
And when he exploded, what'd you do?
Just let him swim over me.
So he just wanted to get unattached
a lot of times
from you.
if I pick up an alligator, he'll just bolt right over me, and that's the end of it. And if I'm holding him up like this, like I could pick up an alligator like this and lift him out of the water straight up.
Yeah.
I picked him over my head, an alligator. I walked out of the water, 8-foot alligator, just stepped it right out, lifted him overhead, and then he doesn't see me. And I tilt the head up, and all of a sudden, I just get under him, and I start to slowly lift him. He hasn't seen me, so he's seen himself lifted. Sometimes they jump out of my hands. Other times they sit there until I toss them.
So they don't turn around and come after you.
This alligator one time attacked me like 10 times, and I kept lifting him, tossing him, and he kept coming after me. It's about an 8-footer. Kept coming after me again and again and again. He would not leave me alone.
So when he comes after you, how do you defend yourself?
As he's coming at me, I've been attacked hundreds of times. I only got bit once, and I didn't see him coming. So as soon as he's going to bite me, I reach underneath, grab his lower jaw, make sure your hand doesn't go inside his mouth. He's coming with his mouth open, and lift up. Once you get under him, like in that picture, he's confused. He doesn't know. All of a sudden, you're not there, and he's being lifted. So usually, it takes off this way or that way, and I back away.
You would have been a great athlete because you have no nerves. Do you get nervous? Do you get scared?
No, I got too comfortable doing that. At first, I got too comfortable catching alligators. Levitating alligators like that. I'd rather levitate an alligator than catch it because you don't have to really fight with it. Let's put it. I could, like I said, I taught girls how to do it.
I can see if you get too comfortable, though, that could be dangerous.
Yeah, that's what happened with a rattlesnake, for example. But if an alligator is attacking, every time, you lift and then you confuse them, throw the attack away. Now, one time I was swimming in the middle of the Everglades down a canal, and the alligator came from behind, and I was too lazy to check behind me. I was looking to hand catch a garfish. I had people in the boat that were coming behind me because I catch fish with my hands. That's another thing I do. So I was looking to catch a guard to show the guest, and all of a sudden I felt like I got hit with a baseball bat across my back. And I said, the airboat, it couldn't be the airboat hit me, it's too, this all crossed through my mind about 1,000,000 miles an hour. No, the airboat's about 50 yards behind you. And I was like, I'm like, you moron, you just got bit by an alligator. It just crossed in my mind real quick. Turned around, the gator was right here. What he did is he grabbed bit my back like this. He jumped up and bit me, and he filled up his mouth with my wetsuit. So he ended up putting like 12 scratches on my back.
Wow.
And bruised here. So if I had my arm like this, he would have tore it off. He would have got a hold of it. He didn't. It's kind of like this.
He never got any substance.
He never got any substance.
Yeah.
My wetsuit peeled away with his teeth. So then I turned around. He let go. I went after him, grabbed him by the neck, shook like that. Well, to reverse the attack, I says, if somebody else comes in here, and make sure, spook him so he doesn't attack the next person maybe. And when I got in the airboat, I didn't know if I could get in the airboat. I got in the airboat. I pulled my wetsuit back, unzipped it, and they took a picture and showed me. I thought it was much worse than it was. Oh, that's not that bad at all. But I was like, I need to put bleach on it and everything else. No, it was fine.
He got attacked by an alligator, so he turned around and attacked the alligator.
Well, if you can. I don't know. It felt like I got hit with a baseball bat across my back. The impact was tremendous.
Wow.
And that's the only time.
You see these alligators in these, in these farms, or maybe a croc, and it'll grab another croc's arm and just start rolling and rip the arm off the other croc. And the other croc is just laying there, armless.
They do that to people a lot, too. They rip their arms off. They kill people. Another thing, alligators, they'll eat people. People say, oh, they don't eat people. Yes, they do. Every time an alligator kills somebody in Florida, they trap gator after gator until they find the remains of a human in his belly. Okay, he's the one that did it. The hunt is off,
So we were speaking earlier before we started the podcast here. You were saying that once an alligator targets a person, like in Africa or elsewhere, they will continue targeting people. Is that true?
In Africa, they continue because they don't go after them. In Florida, if an alligator attacks and kills somebody, the next day, there's every trapper in Florida
find them,
is out looking for him, and they're going to eliminate that alligator. So the alligator is not going to be left out there to keep doing this. He's going to be stopped.
But in Africa or wherever,
I hear stories that a crocodile killed somebody, and a month later, the same crocodile killed another person and another person. I know they don't have
it might be easy prey.
They don't have people wash clothes in here, let's say in your laundry inside the house. If you go to some of these remote areas, everybody's along the river washing their clothes.
Sure.
So it's just like, hey, let's take everybody to the Everglades and wash their clothes out there.
Yeah, I think one of the most amazing footage I've seen is when you see migrating animals in Africa and these big crocs are laying in the river and they jump up and grab a Cape buffalo or something.
Yeah, wildebeest and zebras.
Yeah.
Those crocodiles have been there for generations. They depend on that migration.
Sure. And they know when they're coming, yeah.
But that is their food source. They're conditioned for that. Like, I've seen alligators that lay underwater and they open their mouths and they have little tiny minnows go inside their mouth, and that's what they're eating. Then you have another alligator, you see him swimming around with a deer in his mouth. Okay, that's more likely the one to attack the person than the one that's eating little turtles and little fish.
They want meat.
They're all different. Mm-hmm. Alligators have different personalities. Even how they catch their food is different. Sometimes it's not the size of the alligator. It's his temperament and how good of a hunter is he. Most alligators that attack people never see him coming.
Right.
The nuisance gator is a gator that you feed, and he follows you around for food. Yeah, he can be dangerous, but nothing like a real man-eater that has never been a nuisance gator. He just shows up one day and nobody even knows he's there, and nobody sees him until he's got a hold of somebody.
Right. Can you do this stuff that you're doing with alligators to crocodiles? Have you done that with crocs?
I can do stuff for crocodiles also. The crocodile is not as strong as an alligator, but he's faster. And he can move his thing around very fast. Now, every crocodile is different than the other. Crocodiles tire quicker. Pound for pound, they tire quicker than gators. Mm-hmm. That's why gators can handle the cold weather better and all that. Crocodiles cannot.
Interesting.
But in Florida, we're not really supposed to mess with crocodiles. It's a big no-no. They're highly protected. Crocodiles also...
They're dangerous, too.
They're dangerous, but they're also very... they're more fragile. If you catch a crocodile and you move it, like talking about Steve Irwin, he's building up lactic acid. We got to get him back into the pit real quick because they can die on you. The alligators have more durability for that.
Oh, very
Like if you wrestle alligators in a show, next week, alligator wrestlers are wrestling the alligator. You start doing that with crocodiles. The crocodiles put up a good show, but they tire out and eventually a lot of them die.
Wow.
They can't handle it. a crocodile is super dangerous at the first, but once he tires out, he turns into a rag. That's why you see those people in Thailand that doing the crocodile shows and they carry them on their back and everything. They tire them out before you go in there. That's part of the gator show.
A lot of these outdoor shows you used to see on TV, were a lot of them staged?
Some stuff is, some stuff is not. I can personally say that when I was in the outdoor channel, I never staged an alligator or shark ever.
Mm-hmm. But some people have gotten caught.
Well, some of the stuff it's staged on purpose. Some is not. You know what I mean? Some guys, they go to a zoo, of course it's staged. You're doing it in a zoo. You know what I mean?
But like you have no inclination that like Steve Irwin's program was staged.
Some of the stuff he did probably could have been staged and some is not. If he's in the ocean, there's nothing staged in that ocean.
Right.
But a lot of the stuff he's doing, of course, he's going to take a crocodile from this pen and catch it in this pen and put his guys in there. They're going to rope it. We're going to save this crocodile. We're going to put him in a bigger zoo. So, okay, that's not staged. He's going to catch a crocodile. It's just like you go to the zoo. I'm going to lasso this lion out of this cage and put him in this cage. Mm-hmm. So they're not necessarily lying to you or staging that one scene. Other stuff, I don't know exactly what they may have done, but experts can look at it and they know what it is and what it's not,
Right. How did you get linked up?
Now, a snake, I can find one right here and grab it. But if I don't have one, hey, dude, you find a rattlesnake yesterday? Put it there. I'm going to grab it for the camera. I can do that. With a snake is easy. That's no problem. You can't even tell them apart.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the sharks and alligators, I never staged an alligator before, and sharks definitely. You're not going to catch a mako, put them in the aquarium. You know what I mean? And go in there. That's not going to happen. None of them were ever caught and got in. I'm hand feeding the mako. He's fresh coming in the ocean. One thing about some of these mako sharks, you're stressing the animal out. I hand feed a mako, I ride him, and he comes back and I hand feed him again. So was he that stressed out, he would not come and eat out of my hand again.
Right.
How did the Outdoor Channel find you? Was it through these videos that you guys were putting out?
We did a Shark Week and all that, and I think Robin Berg met me, and he was producing for the Outdoor Channel, and he met me, and he was doing Spear Hunter with Sherry Day, and then Sherry Day knew him and everything, and he goes, "Look, Manny, I want to do a TV show and everything," and he picked up the phone and I had a show the next day. And I didn't have to do nothing fancy. I never asked for, hey, I want a lot of money. I want this. What he offered me, I took. When he gave me a raise, I took it. But I never asked for a raise. I never asked for anything. So I'm easy to work with in that sense. Mm-hmm. So he called me. It was very easy. Picked up the phone and called. I got Manny over here. We're going to do this and that. And when we went out there, okay, we're like right here. I'm going to go out to the lake and see what's out here.
Right.
And whatever.
It was all natural because that was your life in general.
Then whatever, we don't know what's going to happen that day. We're looking for an alligator. I catch a fish in my hands or I pick up a snake in the middle. And all of a sudden, we were blessed. We're driving home one day. We didn't have too much. And all of a sudden I look out the window and I see a huge alligator in some canal on the side of the road. Okay, stop the car. Put on my wetsuit back in again. Next thing you know, I got one of the biggest alligators of my lifetime, face to face with him in a deep canal. Mm. And another time, we've been all day out there. And at the very end of the day, I see an alligator in the distance. He goes underwater, and I find his tracks underwater, the mud trail. The water's already dirty as it is, but I was able to still see where more mud was being kicked up. Followed him. He was underneath the overhang, another giant alligator. And I ended up levitating him, so we ended up getting a great show first time out. But we were there. The only thing I found was a little baby alligator all day. Seen a lot of nice fish, beautiful terrain, no gators. And at the very end of the day, scored a huge alligator.
So that's how the Jackass and like Knoxville and Steve-O, that's how they found you from your Outdoor Channel?
They found me on Animal Planet.
Animal Planet.
Wearing a Speedo. We used to dive with Speedos a lot, and I was levitating an alligator in a swamp wearing a Speedo. And they thought the Speedo was really cool. So they ended up...
That's really funny. It wasn't the alligator, the levitation at all.
Yeah, they ended up calling me, and they told me, these Jackass guys are looking for you. And I go, man, you don't want nothing to do with them. They were telling people, advising me. They're very stupid people. And they're very incorrect. They do a lot of wrong stuff. Everybody's worried about their image and political and everything. When you go with them, you forget about the image and the political or the correctness. It's all out the window, But I ended up with them. And
it was fun.
I got more publicity from them than I did from all the other shows. And it turned out to be, it's like every time somebody walked in, hey, Manny, what are you doing? Hey, dude, Wildboyz. It's like, so it was all, 80%. Hey, dude, I saw you on Discovery. once in a while, or, Animal Planet from way back, but most of it is them.
Yeah. It was good fun watching you.
The exposure they had, was huge.
It was huge. I'm interested. So I read something where when you were younger, you'd go into the Everglades with a frying pan and a shotgun. Is that true?
Not even a frying pan. I ended up using a turtle shell. I got dropped off. I would skip school. My mom was out of town, so I was like 17 years old. They dropped me off, and I remember asking, where can, there's woods, go down this highway, and there's woods on each side. They would just drop me off there, and let's say pick me up in 3 days. And I go out there, and I'd drink water from the swamp. I'd eat frogs, shot a deer one time. It was eating raw deer meat. It's just...
No fire to cook anything.
I tried fire. I had matches, but it tasted terrible. When I put the fire, I didn't have cooking. The turtle, I cooked turtle and bullfrog, which I shot with a shotgun ahead of him, took his head off. I ate that inside the shell. I could use the shell, where the juice and everything came out of there. I was able to eat that. But the deer, I had nothing to put it on. I was starving, and I was just taking slices of deer meat.
Eating it raw.
I came back one time. I was so sick. I had about hundreds of ticks on my body. And I don't know if it's from eating the raw deer meat or whatever it is, but my friends aren't picked me up. By the time they picked me up, I was skinning the deer, putting all the meat, wrap it up in the deer skin and everything. I had a shotgun, single shot, that my mom had bought me back in the day for $24, 12 gauge. That's what I had. And I used to misfire all the time.
How were you sleeping in the Everglades?
This isn't in the Everglades. This is in near Gulf Hammock.
Okay, how are you sleeping in Gulf Hammock?
Just laying in the palmettos, underneath the palmetto leaves, and mosquitoes eating me alive all day and night, nonstop.
Why didn't you go home?
Was that fun for you?
I got dropped off.
But was that fun for you?
No car. I got dropped off. What?
Was that fun for you?
The wilderness. I love the wilderness, the woods, the hunting. I loved all that. Getting eaten up by mosquitoes was not fun. It was miserable. I couldn't sleep. It was like millions and millions of mosquitoes day and night just all around you. And then thirsty, I would just drink water from all the puddles and everything in the area, all the swamps. And I did that like that. And
so
I did that several times.
You did it several times. So
yeah, then later on, I was going with a friend of mine. We're doing it. We would get dropped off and go out there, but he wanted, to bring a tent, that kind of stuff. It started getting a little bit better, But I did that.
Yeah, mosquito repellent.
No, I didn't bring I don't like mosquito repellent. I wouldn't bring any.
So you would rather just get bit?
I was just getting bit over and over again. I became like immune to mosquito bites. I'd feel them, but I wouldn't get rashes or welts from them. From getting bit so much. And also, I was also picking up venomous snakes. I went with a friend of mine one time. We walked like 10 miles. I could show you on a map how far we walked through the woods. And my friend, he was studying engineering at the time. And he smoked cigarettes. And he goes, if I get bit by one more mosquito, I'm going to set your entire forest on fire. I'm going to get rid of this horrible wilderness. And when you become an engineer, I'm going to concrete this entire place. He was funny as all get. He goes, okay, I've had it with wildlife. I got to concrete this whole entire place.
I want my mommy.
He was all covered in welts. It looked like he had a disease. So many mosquitoes are biting him. He's like, and I go, this office guy. That's what we call them, office people. They get.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to hang out with you, Manny.
Well, listen, I'm not going to walk 10 miles nowadays through the woods. Back then, we'll go out on an airboat, whatever.
Yeah.
So tell me how you would cook the turtle.
Just made a fire, took all the meat out of it, put it into the shell. And
use
put a fire underneath it.
The frying
and then
pan.
just heat it up.
Heat it through the shell.
Yeah, heat it through the shell. Put the meat back into the shell.
Was it good?
Yeah. Turtles are usually good. I mean, I've eaten soft shells and all kinds of turtles.
Mm-hmm. What else did you eat? Frogs, turtles, deer?
I've eaten everything. Just about everything that I've ever hunted or somebody else has hunted and brought over to eat.
So do you go to the store and buy meat, or do you harvest your own meat?
No, I go to the store and buy meat all the time. Steaks or hamburger.
We hunt in Colorado, so Nikki's got a deer and an elk in the freezer.
Oh no, that's great.
Deer and elk, couple years ago, we had an antelope also. So we try to harvest our own food out in the West.
I've done that before, wild boar, and over here in Florida, and I've gotten deer in the past. I haven't gotten deer in a long time. My friends do, and they give me deer meat. But I went out to the lake out here the other days, and a friend of mine brought his airboat, and I gigged 2 big garfish, and I made garfish hamburgers, garfish patties.
Yeah,
and
you showed me the photograph of that.
I got it looks like 5 pounds
you
of meat.
You speared one with your devil spear.
I ended up getting 2 of them.
Yeah.
2 about the same size, and they're really hard to clean. Yeah. But I took the meat, and it was all solid meat, about 5 pounds, and I made like a picadillo out of it with rice and cut it up and seasoned it and everything. So I was eating garfish here for 2 days.
Yeah, it looked good. I'm kind of curious. We're doing a lot of spear fishing. Most of our audience are fly fishing guys and fishing in general. Did you fish much, or were you always like a guy that wanted to spear them and catch your fish in other forms?
I did a lot of spear fishing commercially. I did it professionally. I did it for fun, for me to eat, but many years just to sell. That's how I made my living. Now, we did catch fish with hook and line too. I mean, I've caught a bass before with hook and line. I'm not the best fisherman. We caught mahi-mahis before. I've been out with people. I've caught sharks before fishing, and I've caught, of course, bluegills, catfish. I caught catfish in Canal Fort Lauderdale, and I ate them. So, with bread, using bread.
Was it not that exciting to catch fish with hook and line?
I like it more now.
It's safer.
Yeah, I've done so much spearfishing. I don't mind going out and catching a bunch of fish with hook and line. I like to catch. I mean, most people catch and release. I like to catch fish and eat. Right. I eat fish. We also do a lot of gigging from the boat. Mm-hmm. We were going out to Lake Okeechobee. One night we got like 250 pounds of tilapia with my tridents thrown at them. And I, come home, fillet them. See, my family, my wife and her uncle, they don't like wild boar or any of that, but they do eat like tilapia and fish. So I would cook up the tilapia for them. A bunch of them, they loved it,
I'm intrigued. I was intrigued with your talking about how to hold your breath and training to hold your breath longer. In the bends and passing out, when you're diving.
I passed out. It's a lot to cover there. I passed out before while training. I was training the U.S. freediving champion diver Megan Henny Greer. I was training with her. She would take a bunch of laps underwater, and I'd be hyperventilating, get ready to go, and she'd come up. And I watch her while she's doing it, and she watched me while I was doing it. And one of those, I made a turn, and next thing I know, I woke up, and she's screaming. And I said, "What are you doing? You're ruining my routine." And then it dawned on me, I had blacked out. I had no recollection that I had blacked out.
So what was the routine again?
We'll do underwater laps in the swimming pool, and then I'd be watching, and then, she come up, I go down, and the camera guy, he would also do it.
Mm-hmm. So you're trying to see how long you could stay underwater in the swimming pool?
Well, we were doing laps underwater, training. Mm-hmm. She set one record, she was going to set another record for freediving back in the day. At 19, she did it, but the next thing I know is I passed out. At that time, she had picked me up and the lifeguards were coming, but every time we were training in the swimming pool, the lifeguards were looking at us and, it was a nightmare. We're going to get somebody blacked out,
So you were training in a swimming pool because it was safer than training in the ocean?
Yeah, exactly. It's easier to watch somebody, in a swimming pool. That when we were training in the ocean, which we did, there's no bottom. So you pass out down there, you're just going to keep sinking. You're gone. Mm-hmm. When you do a free dive, the technique is you breathe deep, slow breathing. It's extremely dangerous. I tell everybody, you want to do this, you're going to end up dying from it. So you got a clear warning. You will die from this. This will kill you. It's killed so many people. But what you learn how to override the brain. The body can only tell you how much carbon dioxide you have. If you're out of oxygen, it doesn't know. So when you get rid of your carbon dioxide, you feel like you can hold your breath forever. Mm. So every time you exhale,
it's a false sense of security.
It's a false sense of security. So you feel great, and you feel, I got another minute, I got an hour down here, and you don't. So when you do too much of that, since we can't gauge, say, dude, your oxygen level's too low, you got to come up. We don't know. You'll find out when you pass out.
So once you've done that a number of times, do you know when you're getting to that state where almost you're ready to pass out?
If you almost passed out, you're okay. You made it. When you pass out, you won't even know you passed
you're
out.
done.
You won't even know you passed. Unless you get rescued, you're dead. You're not going to come out of it and live. You can do a samba. I mean, came out dizzy, which happened to me many times, and I was okay. So you do your deep, slow breathing, and then as you go down, you tuck your head and you align your body, so you start to sink. Once I break like 25 feet, I'd be with a Speedo, 4 pounds of weight. I was very lean. I'm getting leaner again too at the time. So 4 pounds is all I needed. Once I broke that 25 feet, I would just hold my hands down like, and I start to sink. And the deeper you go, the more your lungs compress, the faster you sink. And you feel the snorkel. I mean, it feels like you're Superman flying down to the bottom of the ocean.
Wow.
So in seconds, you're down 100 feet and past it. I mean, real quick. And then you go.
Are you decompressing as you're falling?
You got to clear your ears. What happens to me after I get so deep, I can't get air out of my lungs to clear my ears. So I blew up an eardrum down there. I was trying to get past 200 feet or something like that, and boom, went off like a firecracker.
Wow.
I can't clear after a certain depth. But if I could, I probably would have killed myself. Because I had no problem getting back up. I could hold my breath 5.5 minutes, and the last minute and a half, I'd be swimming. So I would lay down for 4 minutes on the bottom, and then take off and swim for a minute and a half, and then come up for air.
Wow.
But I wasn't born with a special lung or anything like that. That's just training and technique, knowing how to do it. Mm-hmm. You start training for that for a while. I remember we took John Scott. I remember when Fox News came down to go on the boat with us, and he held his breath for a minute. And I said, okay, now we're going to do this. And then I think he ended up doing like 3 minutes. So I taught him how to hold his breath right there and there on the spot, and he went down. I also picked up some diving techniques from Pepin, Francisco Ferreras. I picked up technique. We all did. Picked up techniques. All of us could. Mark held his breath 5 minutes and 13 seconds. Mm-hmm. Megan held her breath 4 minutes and 36 seconds.
Wow. So this was all just so you could free drive or feed or spearfish, go down there and stay longer.
It's for fun. It's addictive to see how far you can go, but a lot of it is for spearfishing.
But initially, it was for sport, kind of like how long you could hold your breath.
It originally was to be able to get to the fish better. It's a high to go down 100 feet, spear grouper, and come up without a tank. Mm. It's like you feel like you got something. One time I went down in 110 feet of water and I shot a 67 pound black grouper. And I was like, okay, I feel like I got this fish. And another thing is, I went from the spear gun to the pole spear, and then to the hand spear and knife, catching fish with a knife, and also hand catching fish.
You're always trying to make it harder.
I like the challenge. To get an alligator, go out there, shoot a rifle. Once it's dead, go in the water, get it, look for it, and find it. But to go out and catch an alligator by hand, it's like you catching a tarpon on a fly rod. Mm-hmm. You can put a heavier tackle and all that, but the idea to get that tarpon to bite your fly rod and be able to play him without him breaking your line and getting away and landing a fish, you come out of there feeling really good about that.
Yeah, we was trying to make it harder with what we were doing. That's why we fly fish, and we're willing to accept the liabilities of light tippet and big fish.
It makes the reward so much better.
The smaller fish caught that way is more valuable than the bigger fish caught the other way. Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and that's your whole life has been this way.
Yes, so you and I think the same way when it comes to that. The art of catching a fish. Dude, that's impossible. How are you going to catch a fish on this flimsy rod on that line, and then you following him around? Mm-hmm. The challenge of doing the impossible. You're also a skier, which is doing the impossible. The kind of stuff you were doing. It's the same mentality. Mm-hmm. So I went from this. Okay, how am I going to hand catch this fish? Okay, is he in a hole? I'm going to try to grab him when he's in a hole. Open water, which I've caught fish in open water. It's an opportunity you got to capitalize on, because I'm not going to get that chance every single time. And it's the same thing. So I went and I caught a barracuda with a knife. That didn't occur to me. I was in North Carolina, and there was a spearfishing tournament. I was sponsored by Omer, and hey, you want to come along for a tournament? So I would go from boat to boat, hang out with the local guys. They're competing in a competition in North Carolina. We're like 30 miles offshore. And the guy goes, I'm in the water, checking around, see what's there, goofing off, whatever. They're doing their thing. And the mate says, hey, can you get me a spadefish or a sheephead so I can take home to eat? And I go, oh, sure. I got the pole spear. Sheephead are way deeper. I saw a spadefish mid-water, go down, shoot it with a pole spear. I come up, and all of a sudden, every barracuda that was in the area came up to me. And it started, you couldn't see them. There's a cloud of barracuda around me. They're all biting at the fish. They were so aggressive, the fish in North Carolina, that I found myself pushing barracuda with my hands, and they're literally biting my hands off as they're biting at the fish I'm holding. So then it says, pull your knife out. So I grabbed the knife and I went like this. I tried to hit one on top of the head and I went like this and I missed and I go from the side. So another barracuda came in, took a bite, hit him in the side, and immediately I grabbed him by the throat. That's him.
You have a photograph down there of you with that big old barracuda. Yeah, pull that up here. Yeah, look at that.
That's with a buckmaster given to me by Paul.
Wow. Very cool.
Very, very cool.
So I grabbed him by the throat like that, and that thing, of course, trying to bite me in the head. So I'm keeping him off of me, and a bull shark comes up. So I said, I'm not going to let the bull shark eat it. There's no video on it. So I'm going to get in the boat and get a picture with it. So one of the super duper divers, Eric Salado, took a picture of me with my barracuda. And that's one of my favorite catches, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, that's...
I've caught I caught bigger cudas, with spear guns and stuff like that and everything. That's a nice cuda, though. It's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's, one of my favorite catches is that one. Because the barracuda is so difficult to get with a knife. I never heard anybody ever getting one.
No.
The Goliath grouper, okay, I used to hunt them for a living. They made it illegal. So I started thinking, I decided to go fishing for Goliaths by hand. I ended up catching 6. And people complained to the federal government. The federal government looked me up. I went to see him. I ended up signing a piece of paper. I'm not going to wrestle any more Goliaths, at the time. Federal and state waters you're allowed to, but I haven't done it. And he said, and we invited him on the show for Animal Planet. So the head guy came from Washington. They hung out. They go, well, we're working with Manny, and we're not going to allow any more criticism of his Goliath stuff, whatever. But the guy went in there, went on the show and said, hey, by the way, the Goliath groupers are protected. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. So next thing you know, the federal government is on Animal Planet with us.
So
on the show.
I think, look, if you, Goliath group are banned from fishing and harvesting, but if you want to get one with your hands, you can go ahead and get it with your hands. How many people are going to go down and grab one of these with their hands?
Right. It ain't like they were going to get wiped out. No, a few people got jealous and got upset that we got on TV, and and it was on TV. Nobody said about it until these guys complained. They called the feds and all that, and they complained about it. And then the feds, okay, somebody called and complained about this. So I went to see them, and they go, look, we got people feeding bottlenose dolphins. We got people doing this, and we're having a big issue with the whole thing. Then later on, we hand-fed some Goliaths for the show. We did some of that. I think Goliath groupers are super cool. They're like a giant bass. They're really cool, but catching one by hand, it's a heck of a rush.
How do you do that?
The Goliath grouper is aggressive. Unlike other groupers, you get in front of him. You keep getting in front of him and get in the hole, and you hold your hand in front of him because he's going to come at you. So put something in front of you so he doesn't get your head. And when he attacks you, especially inside his cave or in the wreck, they bit me in the open.
So you let him bite your arm, and then you grab him by the gills?
Yeah, you just hold your arm. Don't worry. And he's going to bite you so fast you don't know what happened.
It's like noodling for catfish.
Yeah, but he's like giant. He goes quick. Boom. Next thing you know, your arm's in his mouth. And he's locked down on you like this. And what I do is go into the gill opening and lock here. And I'm holding my breath. So then, I used to do 5.5 minutes. So next thing you know, he shakes and stops. Shakes, and he starts slowly in circles all the way to the surface and get up there with him.
Wow. How big of a Goliath did you catch?
The biggest one I caught was almost 400 pounds. The one that everybody saw in video is just maybe under 300 pounds.
How hard was that to get him to the surface? Because a 400-pound fish is going to fight pretty hard.
He was in 40. There was 8 people watching that day. It was in 40 feet of water, and people give it up because he wasn't biting me. He was taking off from one ledge to another, back and forth. And I was like, and there was 2 bull sharks in the area. People were spearfishing, and I said, if you see the bull shark come from my legs, yell so I can hear you, so I can turn around behind me because I was dealing with all this at the same time. And I was in 40 feet of water. He went into a cave, and I went in there, and he bit me twice and spit me out. Bit me and shook me and spit me out and bit me again. And I said, okay, I got it now because I was learning. I figured out how to do this. So I went down, and when he bit me, they got me the footage coming out of the cave. So we went out and got another one another day where you could see the takedown. So I could show the public how it's done. I'm not telling people to do this. If one of those spines gets you like this from the Goliath group and one of the impacts, it'll go through your heart. It'll kill you. If he runs you into a wreck, he could break your head into the side of a wreck. The fish is powerful. If he hits you here in the chest, he can concave your chest. So I got to the side, avoid the spine, and the skin. If you don't have, I have a 1.5 millimeter wetsuit and gloves. The skin, it's got spikes on it, so he'll shred you. The teeth will shred you. This is a few scars in here.
And that's through your wetsuit.
No, it got me without a wetsuit, another one.
Yeah.
But even when I had wetsuit, it was all cut up in here every time I caught one. And then you bring them up, we took pictures, and let it go. And I had, 8 people watching, but at the end, I finally brought the big fish up. So I caught a few more, and then that was it. I ended up catching 6 total. I never caught another one.
Was it too dangerous? Is that why you stopped?
It
was banned.
It was banned. I couldn't put it up in there, and I didn't want to get in trouble. I tried to do one for the Outdoor Channel, and Robin goes, I don't know, we might they might bring a big trouble for us. So he didn't want to do it. Nowadays, if I had to do it, it's already done. I would go out and hand feed them or something.
Right. But you've been bitten by a bunch of sharks too, you were saying. I've
been bitten by mako in the finger while hand feeding. I've been bitten by.
I'm surprised it didn't take your finger off.
No, one tooth cut me. I was hand feeding and I got so confident, literally I was ready to brush his teeth. I was putting my hand almost inside the mako's mouth.
How big was this mako?
Oh, this is about 350. I hand fed another one. This is about 600 pounds.
You were lucky to be alive.
I hand fed a bunch of makos before. I hand caught.
Did you ever think that this might be the end?
No.
At any point?
It's almost like with the makos, I got to a point in some of these sharks. It's almost like having a great time. It's like almost like a big rubber toy that'll bite you. I was just, enjoyed the heck. It's a fun time playing with the sharks out there. The fact they're so dangerous and it's so cool to play with, it's so cool to look at. Mako's such a beautiful creature. When you look at it, it's like, wow, I can't believe this animal's real. It doesn't look real. When you see him underwater coming at you, his teeth hanging out of his mouth, this is like something to see in a sci-fi movie. It's just an amazing fish. And then I got bit by a lemon shark while diving on him. I got bit several times by lemon, twice in my hands. I got bit by nurse shark in my inner thigh, diving from a boat. I missed it, turned around and bit my leg. And I got bit by Caribbean reef shark in my leg.
Why do you like jumping on dangerous animals?
I don't.
You jump on alligators, you jump on sharks.
I'd rather catch them underwater. Like if I'm going to catch an alligator nowadays, I wouldn't jump on it. What I would do, I'll go underwater, levitate it and grab his jaw and start backing with it. When he shakes violently, it breaks my grip, get away. The minute an alligator breaks your grip, you got to get your hands out of the way. He's going to get him. So get away, do it again. By the third time, the alligator will shake. Then when he can't break my grip, then I start backing out of the water with him. So I do a more finesse thing. If I'm going to catch one, I'm going to work with him, attack, back off till I tire him enough to handle him. Instead of just grabbing him head on the first time around and risking everything you got, I'm not as strong as I used to be. So I'm definitely not going to use that kind of strength on him. And then you can back it up with a shark. Every fish has a different technique. The Goliath, you let him bite you. You're not going to let a mako bite you.
Sure.
It'll take, I'll show you a video later. So what happens is you just wrap your hands. You can hand feed him when he's real close to you. Move slow because the mako's super fast. So you don't want to use speed against him. You want him to get comfortable with you. It's just like you're the hook. Instead of using a hook bait, you got the bait right here. When he comes to eat the bait, you're the hook. So you go grab this fin and that fin and this fin over here. So he can't bite you this way or bite you this way and hang on. And then just go with him. He'll beat the daylights out of you. Like that. And just hang on to that mako. And you'll be flying through the water. If you ride him, he'll sound. If you catch him, he tries to jump out of the water. So you can keep catching air, and you can hold, you don't have to hold your breath the whole time, or else you'll never make it. So Mako gives you that advantage that you can stay on the surface with him. If he's too big, don't try it.
I have a feeling it's hard to relate to people because you're so different. No one else is doing the things you're doing.
I don't like to compete. I like to do things that nobody else is doing. Go do my own field. Like in weightlifting, I felt terrible. I had to win or else I could disappoint everybody. And I was like, no, you got to win. It's like, I was stressed out in the weightlifting competition, and the guys come up to you and tell you, oh, I can pick up 400 pounds. And they're lying, but they, everybody's exaggerating what they can lift because nobody's honest. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say what I'm lifting. I like to be very accurate. So they go, don't listen to them, Manny. They're psyching you out. Mm-hmm. So this is the competition. They're looking at you like that and everything, and everybody's in there and I see, oh man, this guy's he's full of it. He's not lifting. I'm looking at him. He's not going to lift what he says he's going to lift. Mm-hmm. I start catching onto it, and at the end, I say, okay, now I know I got this competition wrapped up. Mm-hmm. But the stress that I went through that day and everything, and I remember picking up the weight in my hands. The adrenaline was flowing through like this, and people said he's shaking too much. But when I picked the weight, it felt like a broomstick. I couldn't feel the weight because adrenaline was flowing so much. I remember the stuff I got. So I don't like that competitive thing that much. I like to calmly do. Like I don't want to go in a spearfishing competition. Am I good spearfishing? Yes. Am I the best? No. I can name several guys that have beat me in spearfishing. Am I the best freediver? No. I know guys that are better at freediving. They can hold their breath longer than me and all that. There are. The underwater stuff with the gators and the sharks, I did that before anybody.
Well, where you live is above Lake Okeechobee in a beautiful community near a lake. You've got a canal right behind your backyard.
You got a sandhill crane right behind Andy.
Yeah. It's very calm here, surrounded by a lot of animals and birds. Do you struggle being around a lot of people?
Nowadays, I don't like being around the crowds, but when I'm around people, I'm very kind to people. As a Christian, I'm kind and humbled with everybody. I answer everybody's questions and everything. If people criticize me, that's okay. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, I don't like being around. Sometimes I like the traffic. I
you
just
get anxiety?
I'm tired of traffic. I'm tired too crowded. I like people. I just don't like. I rather like this. I don't like too many crowds at one time. It's just overwhelming. There was a time, that I did it more and everything. Now I don't. If I went out, and I remembered. I was hired to go to a bar when college kids were there. So, take pictures of them all day long, shake hands. I've never been disrespectful to anybody in that sense. I hung out with everybody, took pictures of everybody. I don't think I have anything over anybody. We're all people. I'm not, I got faults just like everybody else does and everything else. So, but I was a kind person most of my life, and especially now, I continue to be polite and kind, and be cautious of people too. Mm-hmm. And the people going around, they're looking for whatever you do. If you save a burning bus full of kids and save all the lives, somebody's going to find a way to criticize you for it. That's the way the world is now. You do that. Well, he did it for publicity. How about saving the kids?
Yeah,
right. Somebody's always going to dislike. So,
and the thing is, you'd be doing all these things without the camera. You were doing all these things before the camera.
All my life. I remember I started getting on TV in my 40s. And I told you stories from high school and beyond. There was no camera there. There's no pictures. Right. I caught huge alligators before with just my memories.
Sure.
And God knows, that's it.
Well, tell me about losing your finger to a rattlesnake. And I saw that show. And even after you got bit, you said he got me or something like that.
I was real calm.
You were so calm, but knowing what you were up against, the ramifications of getting bit by a rattlesnake are pretty extreme.
I knew. I started praying, and I said, "Okay, you're in for it." Never mind. I felt like I could have died. I felt like I was. If anything, I felt like I was almost dying. The pain and the venom was so bad, so bad. I got bit in high school. And I remember my friends finally talked me into going to the hospital. And then the hospital told me, you want to keep your hand, you better lay down. And I was asking how much was it? 17 years old, when I got bit by a rattlesnake, a pygmy rattlesnake in high school. And in a few days, I was back home and I healed out of that one quick. This Western Diamondback was really big and it put a lot of venom in me. And I was like...
And you were filming during this, I remember.
Yeah. I was filming for the outdoor channel, Savage Wild. We were going to Texas. I was with Buck Medley and they said, okay, I was going to try to catch an alligator guard by hand. We had those gators and, all kinds of things over there that Buck Medley, different ideas that we had the first day out. I got bit by a rattlesnake and that ended it, And
so tell me how you got bit. Weren't you distracted a little bit or did you take it for granted?
Distracted. Well, it's kind of like, because they want, I'm talking on camera. And so I'm looking, can you say this? Can you say that? And I'm, okay, come through here. We'll say this. And I come down and, I see a rattlesnake is coiled up, ready to strike. So I go down, first thing I do, I pet his head. And I reach, and then when I went to do, that's my normal routine. When I went to do the neck grab, I was off a half an inch and he was able to turn his head halfway.
So you missed your shot.
If you look at the video, I'll show it to you. You can see eventually he threw both things into this finger. I had him like this. He had him around the neck, but since the head is so flexible and the neck is so flexible that he can throw his fangs like this and get you. And he got me, okay. And I like, oh boy, this isn't going to sound good. He got me. So I knew that this is just the beginning. It's a long, you know what I mean? This
is a serious problem.
It's a serious problem. Okay, we got it. But it's nothing you got to stay calm. There's nothing to get excited about. No panic. It's, it's there.
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
And then, and the pain it lasted for years. It's just horrible.
Years?
Yeah. Years. My hand would be swollen in the morning every day. To this day, this hand feels like rubber. It doesn't stretch out as well. Scar tissue is all in there. It's horrific.
Did you lost the sensitivity in your hand also, besides the finger?
It feels weird. It feels like I got like rubber attachments here, and it doesn't have the flexibility that I had.
Do you still feel like you have a finger there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've heard that.
Yeah, I feel the tip of my finger right now when I close my fist. It took years for me to be able to do this. I couldn't close my hand.
So he bit you in the top end of your finger?
He bit me in the inside. This skin right here is this skin right over here.
Right.
So what a doctor did, he was, I can pull this whole thing out, make your hand look prettier. No, I need to use my hand. So leave as much as you can so I can have you. I don't care about the looks. I want use of it. So he cut me off here and he took this skin because this is all eaten up. Top. Yeah, and peeled. So this skin here is what goes on the top of the finger. And he did this, and I got like a knot here, and he goes, but that way he was able to save it. The whole inside here was all black. It was just, he goes, that's like dry gangrene. It's corroded. And he goes, even if you save the hand, you're going to have like a hook hanging there. It's going to, when you're driving a car, it's going to make you get a wreck.
It's going to be useless.
It's a useless finger. So when you get a finger terribly, it's best to take it off, because if not, it's like a stick sticking out of everything. Mm-hmm. It's not, it gets in the way. So that's very important. That's probably the worst bite I've had. The bloodiest bite was from the nurse shark in my inner thigh. He almost got my femur artery. He took an oatmeal cookie out of my leg. And it wasn't a big nurse shark either. Now, the Caribbean reef shark that bit me in the leg, that attacked me from behind. I had a feeding frenzy going on, and I felt like somebody hit me with a machete on my leg. Bam! Huge impact. There was a Caribbean that kept hanging off in the distance behind me. He was afraid. He's the one that came in and bit me.
Wow.
So and he is about probably around 6 foot long Caribbean. When it bit me in my leg, Caribbean looks like a bull shark, same type of teeth. It's extremely dangerous shark. It's what just tore that guy with the Jackass guys in the Bahamas, one of those. And they've bitten a lot of people. It's a very ferocious, mean shark. And he bit me here, but I had a knife tied to my leg that day. And he bit down on the knife and my shin bone. If not, he would have destroyed my leg.
Wow.
If I wear my knife on my waist. That day I happened to wear my knife on my lower leg.
Are you getting tired of things biting you?
I get bit very little compared to the amount of handling I did. So my ratio for getting bit, I'm the guy that never gets bit.
Right.
If you want to look at it like that.
Right.
But I did so much of it. I mean, I 1 million shark feeding frenzies.
Is there one animal that makes you more uncomfortable than the others? Like when you know you're going to interact with this animal, it's like you have a little more anxiety and you're like, fuck, I got to get my stuff together here.
Probably The bears, but more than anything, the orcas. I got into water with wild orcas back in the day when nobody knew about them. About 25 years ago, Wildboyz. I did a lot of good things with Wildboyz. I jumped off Alaska. There was a group of orcas coming, and I told the captain, drop me in their path so I can
You're nothing but a big seal. They could have eaten you so easily.
Oh, yeah. No, the orcas are extremely dangerous. In my opinion, everybody thinks they're... No, I disagree with everybody. And we put Marcus in the water with me, filming, and then and Steve didn't want to go in. He didn't. It's Chris Pontius got in. So then we put Chris Pontius on an inflatable orca, and they go, we're going to put him here. We're going to recruit these whales for SeaWorld. So we're going to show us done. So we started dragging them behind the boat, and the two orcas started jumping out of the water like this. Two of them. Amazing. And then he fell over. I got him first. Nothing happened. Okay, bring him in. And okay, let's get him out of the water before they decide to play ping pong with him. And then we got him out of the water. But that was a high risk that I put Chris through. Real high risk. Orcas, we don't know, documented. We don't know how many Eskimos they've eaten in the past or what they've done. I don't know. They've attacked polar bears. They kill blue whales. They kill great white sharks.
Great white sharks, yeah.
They kill everything. To me, probably the most dangerous animal I've ever been in the water with is an orca, because he can be, okay, I'm not going to hurt you, but, I'm going to bite you in half as I feel like it. Understand that just like people are crazy, all you got to do is find the right orca that decides to do that. There's no boundaries.
Yeah, so
animals have no rules. Only God at the end can intervene. They have no rules.
What made you think that this was going to be an okay thing to do?
I gambled it. I knew it wasn't okay. I don't know. I'm not a whale guy. I don't know. I just know the orcas are dangerous. That's all I knew. And I gambled it. I'm under pressure, make the show happen. I told Captain, this is, it's like do or die. Let's go for it. And I just went in.
I can't even imagine the guilt if somebody would have died under your watch.
Nobody died under my watch. And that's one of the things I don't want to put people through that anymore.
Right.
Shall not tempt the Lord thy God is written in the Bible. And I've tempted the Lord thy God, and the Lord has had mercy on me. I tempted the Lord thy God here. I got the shark bites. Sometimes he talks to you in those ways. And he created an entire universe. So he can tell a lion to attack you or not to attack you. There's documentations of that. So he's spared me a lot of mercy on me. And worst of all, getting somebody hurt on my behalf. That would be the worst of the worst. Like when that guy got mangled, Steve told me about it, and it happened in the Bahamas. I wasn't in on that.
That was a Shark Week stunt?
Yeah. That guy got mangled. I don't know the guy, but I heard Steve said he knew from being with me the sharks are so bad. He said you threw a piece of paper in the water, the Caribbeans would hit it. It was Caribbean reef sharks saying they bit me in the leg. I just met a pastor that his son got his leg bit off in Lue Key by Caribbean reef shark. He goes, the first case. And I said, no, not the first case. I got bit in Lue Key. That's when I got bit many, many years ago.
Lue Key in the lower Keys.
Yes. Yeah. That's where I got bit. At the top of the Lue Key is a colony of Caribbean reef sharks that live on top of that reef. So if you go snorkeling in there, go to the deeper water. Don't go in that shallow water. They're all in there.
Yeah.
And they will attack you.
I've been snorkeling in there once in my 2 prior
they weren't
snorkel
snorkeling
sessions. And I don't like it.
They were snorkeling there. We were up there a long time ago. People used to feed them there. We used to, a long time ago, and I had a family snorkeling. No, get away from us right now. We got a frenzy going on. Get away from us. I yelled at the people. Oh, really? Yeah. You're going to get killed. Get out of here. Get out of here. I had the sharks all around me one time. So you got to think like that. Was
there one incident that made you think, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore? And what was that? If
Probably about now, I've been with Morgan 15 years. I don't want to come
wife?
home. Yeah. I don't want to come home one day and tell, hey, I did something really stupid today. So, I'm not going to do my artwork to help pay bills and stuff like that. What I do now is I was an artist since I was a kid.
Right.
I had F's in everything except art. I was a terrible student. But in art, I was like best in the class.
Yeah, you draw amazing tarpon and build these spears and
drawings.
things.
I used to draw. I draw a lot, but I always had interest in art.
But let's go back. Was there one moment when you thought, I'm done?
No, it's a slow process, like everything else. I just slowly got out of it. I mean, it come to me tomorrow, and something comes up, and I have to go in. I can go in, but I've avoided. Like my idea, I want to go out in shallow water and spear mullet, and hopefully not run into sharks. That's my idea. I don't want to run to sharks right now. When I was looking for sharks, when you're spearfishing and you're trying to get fish, you don't want to see sharks.
Yeah.
You want to see sharks when you're filming.
Right.
When you're looking for that. Now, you're in more danger spearfishing from a shark attack than if I'm purposely diving for sharks. If I'm diving for shark, I'm on guard. I tell everybody, get up current of the blood. Don't get down current of the blood. If somebody gets attacked, it'll be the dude that's down current of that blood.
For sure.
Shark smells the blood. He's going to come up and bite the first guy that is between him and the bait. Mm-hmm. Just like a bear. You don't get between the bear and the bait.
Right.
You don't either. One thing I want to say is, I've always want to say, I see everywhere, don't feed the wildlife. Don't feed this. Don't feed that. I think the whole thing is a bunch of baloney, to tell you the truth. When I was a kid, you know what the game wardens used to do in the Everglades National Park? Feed the alligators. You know what they did in Yellowstone? Feed the bears.
They did? I thought they were always against that.
No, the tourists would sit there and feed them. This is when I was a kid. We're about the same age. So this went on forever until it became politically incorrect to feed wildlife. In the Keys, you know what we did? Every afternoon, everybody go feed the key deer, feed the raccoons.
Right.
They feed the alligators in the blue hole. When I lived in the Keys many years, and it was normal behavior. Then years later, all of a sudden, it's politically incorrect to feed the wildlife. It makes the alligators attack people. It's not true. When the Indians were not feeding the alligators when they were being attacked in the time of Bartram. The man-eating lions are eating people in Africa and India and all that, like lions in India. They weren't being fed. The bears, when they attack somebody in the remote parts of Canada, they've killed people and eaten them because they were hungry. Mm-hmm. Feeding wildlife, they can become a nuisance. But it doesn't necessarily, it's like, somebody's going to get mauled. Yeah, it's going to happen. But all the gator attacks happened after all these laws were passed and no feeding and all the protection. The gator population went up so high. People say, alligators don't attack people. And all of a sudden, I remember the first day I got attacked by someone. When all the books said they don't attack people, I had an alligator attacking me. I was in high school, took my shirt off, and I got behind it. So I had alligators try to bite me because I caught them. But this is an alligator. The first time I got attacked by an alligator, jumped in a lake. And the gator went after me, and I got behind, took my T-shirt off, got behind it to use it like a blind, like a bullfighter. And I see the alligator's mouth open. He's trying to get around it to get to me. And I finally approached him. I backed him off, and he came back to me. Finally, I made it to shore. And so I said, okay, this alligator's trying to kill me. And then all of a sudden, in the newspaper, somebody got attacked. Another guy got attacked. All of a sudden, everybody getting attacked. Then they started the nuisance gator program to avoid that. So, no, alligators don't attack people unless you fed them. That's a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
The Everglades National Park, I remember the game wardens. And here in Highland Hammock State Park, the game wardens are feeding the alligators. When I was 13 years old, it was normal, everyday practice. You know what happened to the Keys? No more feeding the key deer. They become independent humans. So what happened? Half of the deer died of starvation once they quit the feeding. The raccoons left and everything. Everything, if you have a farm, the deer around you. You go in the far wilderness, there's no deer up there. They're up near the farm eating all the good crops. And then the mountain lions are down there. So all the wildlife is leaving the prime wilderness to get near people because we have the good grass.
Right. The alfalfa fields.
What do you think? The reason deer get hit in the highway because it's all palmetto out there. And then they go to see the nice grass on the side of the road. Oh, that's what I want to eat.
Yeah.
Wildlife depends on us. In Cuba, the lady told me they used to have a slaughterhouse. They used to throw all the leftovers in the river. The crocodiles and the bull sharks would come in there to eat all the leftover stuff from the cows. In Brazil, they shut down the slaughterhouse. So all the bull sharks are feeding on the slaughterhouse, went down the beach and started attacking everybody.
Yeah.
But don't you think it's...
This is like a new thing they came up with, and don't do this and don't do that. And, it's like, in Africa, they don't feed the gorillas. They don't come down from the mountains, and the tourists don't see them. There's no money. So they got to put food for them.
But don't you think it's bad to have wildlife be dependent on us?
If you quit feeding them, they leave. They go somewhere else. When you're out fishing, people yellowtailing, the minute they anchor that boat, there's a bunch of sharks behind the boat ready to eat your fish. So if you're spearfishing, they're going to eat your fish. If you're hunting and you shoot a deer and you're up in the wilderness, you got to hang that deer or the bears are going to come and take it. Animals are opportunists.
Yeah. They
take opportunity, whatever is there. You can alter the behavior, you feed them, but if there's a migration of something that comes through here, they'll start feeding on that. Mm-hmm. They adapt.
Right. No, I'm just talking about, like, in Colorado, we had this fox that we used to feed, and then we heard it was not great to feed that fox. But if that fox had, a baby, and the mama fox came to us every day for food, that mama fox is not showing the baby fox how to hunt properly.
They learn. Listen, my cousin's got a cat, a domesticated cat. That thing comes to the house bringing birds and lizards and everything every other day. They'll manage to learn how one way or the other. I think they do. They're taught by the mother. But how come an alligator using his tail as a weapon when another alligator is not? Oh wow! They had a group of lions that attacked the buffalo head on. That group of lion became extinct. They had another group that attacked. Their technique was attack the buffalo from behind. They were doing okay.
Oh, but yeah, right. They learn to adapt.
Well, the other group, one group did not. Kept attacking, and they kept dwindling because their technique was attacking the buffaloes in the front. They're getting the horns. And so they had another group of lions. The population went up, and the lion is just killing the cubs, one of their own. Just weird things happen in the wild. They do things. Animals. They shut down the dump to keep the bears from feeding on the dump. So what happened? All those bears turned around and started raiding people's cabins. They had to shoot like 100 bears in the Yellowstone area one time because they're breaking into people's cabins. They had a guy in Minnesota. They kept breaking into his house. He kept shooting the bears. You know what he did? He started putting food outside, away from the cabin. Then the bears never broke into his house again. Then what happened? He ended up with a bear sanctuary. There's about 50, 60, 80 bears show up every year at that property. We went there. And Fish and Wildlife decided to make a study area for bears. And they kept before people threw trash out there. And then they started bringing like cashews and nuts. And we went out there. We spent a couple of days hanging out with the bears. And they were all around us.
We have problems in Colorado when you have a dry season and the berries are no longer in the trees in the fall, and they have to consume 20,000 calories a day.
They need them,
and there's no food in the high country, so now they start coming into town.
Yeah,
that's the typical problem.
But that's expected. That's what wildlife is doing. Do I have an issue with it? No, but some people will. Do I have an issue? There's a dozen gators in this canal. I know, but the guy with this got dogs. If I was him, I wouldn't let any of those gators near my dog either, But his dogs don't jump in the water. They know better. Right. Across the street, across the canal. But I don't have a problem. I used to swim and shoulder to shoulder with alligators through miles of swamp. I had to go and swimming underneath the gators. They're laying on the bottom, laying on top. In a certain dry season, accumulated gators attacking gators everywhere. I actually went in there and actually took people with me there, guests. Hey, let's go on a gator dive today. Remember, took football players, all kinds of people in there. Some people freaked out, some people didn't. And then, you'll see a couple hundred gators in one day swimming.
That's crazy. Being tarpon guys that we are, when that's our favorite fish. I know that you've swam at Bahia Honda, at the bottom down there, in the slack tides. Big grouper down there. What were you seeing? Do you see a lot of tarpon? At that bridge, because I know in the fall, or actually in May, they congregate there, waiting for the worm hatches, and thousands of tarpon are there. What do you find most particular about a tarpon underwater?
The tarpon is the most versatile fish, I think, ever. The fact that it lives in deep inland and freshwater and in the ocean. In Bahia Honda, there's tarpon in those bridges year round, but a certain time of year, there's abundance of them.
Right.
But there's no shortage of tarpon. I can always find tarpon down there. Now, when we used to dive there was bull sharks, tarpon, Goliath grouper. I saw swarms of tarpon. I also saw tarpon come up and rub up against bull sharks to scratch their skin up against them. I've seen jacks doing it too. I don't know exactly what.
To get the mowers off the side of them or something?
I don't know why they did it. The tarpon were rubbing up against bull sharks. Now, they know when the bull shark is not in the attack. Sometimes the bull shark is not hungry. You can't get him to come in. He's not going to. He wants nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with fish. I've seen
What's
that
the
before.
most dangerous shark for tarpon? The bull sharks or the hammerheads?
I would say either one. The hammerhead, especially. I would say one thing. I was going to say something about hammerheads if I forget. Florida's shark attack capital of the world. On the East Coast, it is the blacktip shark that terrorizes the coast of Florida. Mm-hmm. But what people understand, when the hammerhead comes in there, even though he can be dangerous to people, the hammerhead is coming in there to eat the blacktip,
right?
Which are attacking the people. So the hammerhead is actually helping out. It is scaring the sharks out of the way. It's attacking and eating them and threatening them. So I see people, if you catch a hammerhead, a great hammerhead, a hook and line, it's about a 50-50. That shark's going to die because it fights it's not like a bull or a tiger. That hammerhead will fight to exhaustion. And a lot of times you have to be, really work hard to see if you can get that shark to go back up again, because you'll beat that shark to death. The great hammerhead, especially, but the great, is there a shortage of them? They're protected. I know they are. They were always common in the Keys to a certain more than other sharks. For us, the great hammerheads. That's what I started. I went to college on great hammerhead. Let's put it this way.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's one thing. Now, yeah, I would say they definitely would be a threat to the tarpon. But there's so much tarpon out there; they're really not going to dent the population.
No, not at all.
Another thing they eat, great hammerheads eats also. They'll attack the bull shark. They'll the big ones, the big 1,000-pound, 14-foot hammerhead and everything. Yeah, they eat stingrays too.
Right.
They eat the stingrays. The bulls will eat the stingrays and everything. The bulls will definitely attack a tarpon, especially if he's hooked.
Yeah, I've lost, I think, 2 tarpon to hammerheads, and I had one black-tip spinner shark, about a 90-pounder. I was getting ready to take the fly out of this fish, and this hammerhead came under my 18-foot boat, big old shadow. Came in and grabbed the spinner shark and ended up eating the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's an unbelievable sight.
They eat lemon shark also. The great hammerhead is one of my favorites. That's the one I learned how to ride. He won't bite you out of anger. He only bites you if he's hungry. If he attacks, he won't bite you. If he attacks you, it's to eat you.
That's good to know, Dad.
You can ride I had a girl riding the hammerheads.
Yeah.
The great hammerheads riding, not a bull. I rode a bull, and that thing turned on me and almost killed me. Lemon, you got to ride and let go quick. You can't hang on to that. Don't do any of those. You can ride a tiger. You can ride a hammerhead. Don't ride lemons. Don't ride bulls.
It's amazing.
They're the ones that
I'm not riding anything. So
I mean, no, they you can get away with it, but you got to know when to let go. Like we had 4 bulls on a feeding frenzy underneath us. I grabbed one of them and I rode like from here to there. I mean, I'm talking 6-8 feet and let go, and all 4 of them were trying to bite me. And I was up against a piling. I was kicking at them, pushing at them, and everything else. Bulls they have a bad temper. They're very shy. They're afraid of people. But when they attack, it's sudden, relentless, and out of nowhere. I got attacked without food on me, without any fish on me, by 6 bull sharks for a half hour. It ended. They were trying to kill me for a half hour. It ended when the boat went looking for me. As I got away from everybody, I was looking for a grouper. And I got real far away from the boat. They picked up anchor, came looking for me, and they found me. They got me in the boat. I couldn't make it back to the boat. They had me pinned.
Why do you think you're still alive?
Because I trust Jesus Christ and the good Lord. That's why I'm still alive. I take it or leave it.
Otherwise, you would have been dead 1,000 times over.
100%. I think, God has patience with us. He has been with me.
Why did he put you on this earth?
He put us, and we're made in his image. He made every fish, every shark, every animal, every predator, every plant, everything that exists. Not only this planet, the entire universe. I believe he created everything. Life cannot create itself. A universe cannot create itself. So definitely, God created. I mean, I'm fascinated. This is like a big playground for us that he created this world. We can play around with wild animals.
Did he think he gave you this purpose in life?
He gave man, not me and man. If you have faith in him, he gave man dominion over all the creatures of the earth. And not that we're supposed to be cruel to animals or abuse or anything else. We have animals we can eat. I eat meat. He said, yeah, you can hunt, you can eat, you can catch fish and eat. Remember, he fed 5,000 people fish. He told the fisherman, put your net and catch a fish. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with hunting and fishing and eating stuff. Fish are also for eating. Now, if you overfish, you abuse the system,
Sure.
You're not going to have any food.
Right.
But fishing is great. Fishing is #1 sport in the world.
It is.
What you do, rod and reel, it is bigger than football, bigger than soccer, bigger than anything that exists. Fishing around the world, there's more money in it. I'm talking like you do, rod and reel. That is the biggest sport around. It is the biggest business around. And I hope they continue it for a very long time.
It's the easiest way to survive, too. All you need is a string and a hook.
Yeah.
Very poor people around the world,
Oh, yeah, they
survive
catch a fish.
from a hook and string.
I mean, if you're here and you need to eat, you're a fisherman, you're going to go in there, get a little string in there, you're going to go in there in that canal, and you're going to get something to eat.
Right.
You will, especially. You. Yeah.
Maybe me.
Well, what an amazing conversation, and I'm so glad we had a chance to visit, and hear about your extraordinary life. originally coming from the movies that we saw you in, but then the trade show that I saw you, I bought an urn. I bought a box from you with a tarpon on the top that has teeth in his face, you know. And I told Nikki, I said, this is my urn. So at some point my ashes will be in there, or some of them.
Well, we're at 142. We got to wrap up, Manny. It was great to meet you. Thanks for telling your story.
You're one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And keep up the great work.
You are. I wish my friends that you have your fans out there, and Sherry Day and Constantine, and then Diego Lapino wanted to come over. He's coming tomorrow. He couldn't make it today because he said, don't talk during a podcast, but he will wait out there, and when he's done, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to hang out with you, or whatever.
Well, I tell all those friends of yours and mine,
But he was telling me about all your fishing records and everything,
So it's a small world. It's a small world, but the world of fishing is, a lot of people know it from around the world, and we've all been lucky in the world of fishing.
Well, Sherry knew you from skiing. Back in the day.
I'm blessed that she remembers that far back.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to end this. Thanks so much, Manny.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I saw is West Side Story. What I saw is just a